Welcome to SchezzWho, Hampton Road's top spot for politics. And tonight we're going to go to Portsmouth schools, specifically the school board, a division head by one Arnette McSwain, candidate for Portsmouth School Board. But before I do, I'm going to begin with thanking who I need to thank, which of course is going to begin with the founder of this very channel, Miss Andrea Dixon Chesviner, whom I love because she is my wife. She is greatly talented, smart, brilliant. Everything that one knows about wives here these days is that also that she helped create this channel is so important to me because it helps me realize the dream of experiencing politics in another fashion. So thank you, of course, and love you. Of course, my good friend, Miss Ellen, who runs Ellen's Homestyle and Barbecue Express. I will note, since this is a Portsmouth related show, that of course she has her main link and address for her restaurant as 4206 Portsmouth Boulevard in Portsmouth, Virginia. I also appreciate her location in the university shops across from Regent University in Virginia Beach, where I get to go there to enjoy great fried fish, fries, and also some macaroni and cheese, which would be perfect for watching a show like this one to digest politics and digest great food. And of course, my good friend, Mr. Seiko Varner, who sort of brought me into this podcasting journey back in the day. But his business, Positive Vibes Incorporated, is where you can get some credit fixes and tax resolutions, some private money for lending purposes, and debt consolidations. There's also his email here, positivevibesfinancial@gmail.com, and his phone number of 757-932-0177, which would also be useful if all you're looking for is a great DJ, because he happens to be that as well. Now, I'm going to circle back to Portsmouth Public Schools and our guest tonight. I want to point out I'm doing up my notes for a couple of shows that I want to do in the very near future, based on forums I've recently attended. And I look to catch a couple more on video as well, namely the Virginia Beach Lynn Haven River Now Forum. I'm waiting for the YouTube channel to post that video because I was not able to attend it. So I can watch it, take the notes, assign the points I need to for those candidates, like I did when I attended on Monday night the Sandbridge Civic League Forum, where at-large candidate for school board, sheriff, and the mayor candidate showed up to that. I logged their answers. I'm going to give them their points when I do, and I hope you tune into those shows. As well as my first foray into Chesapeake politics, where the Hampton Roads Black Caucus mayor and city council forum happened last Saturday. I'll break down their performance. And tomorrow's guest, I happen to meet there, and that's city council candidate Jennifer Navarella. So tune in for all that. But tonight's guest is Miss Arnette McSwain. I'm going to bring her on right now, who I'm very thankful to have on. Hopefully you had a fantastic day, Miss McSwain.
I really did. Thank you. Hope you had one as well.
I did. A lot of traveling from, of course, early morning here in Portsmouth to Virginia Beach, where I work, and then back here for this great night show. I'm, again, thankful that you're able to come on because I love to talk about stuff about what is now my hometown. So I like to begin by the usual biographical information. If you may tell me and the viewers a little bit about yourself, your history, political experience, all the good stuff.
Okay. Absolutely. My name is Arnette D. Love McSwain, born and raised here in Portsmouth, Virginia. I was here until after I graduated from Minor High School in 1990, joined the military. Stayed in the military, the United States Army, for 9 years, and I became a deputy sheriff in Savannah, Georgia. Stayed in Savannah for about 6 years and returned back to Portsmouth. I could have went anywhere, but I decided to come back to Portsmouth. But I worked as a deputy sheriff for Chesapeake, and I retired in 2015 from the city of Chesapeake. I do have some educational diplomas, 11 degrees. I have the Associates of Science in Management. I have a bachelor's in criminal justice. I have a master's in religion, and I also have a master's in management and leadership. My goals as far as, or the reason I'm running for school board is because when I was a graduate, when I was in the 12th grade, I only had two options. I had military and college. So I really do understand how um, some students, that's not enough. It wasn't enough for me, but I had to choose. And when I came back here, after I served as a deputy in Georgia, most of our kids still had the same two options. Though you had, first college, and you did have some, a few little trades, because I think my son took, he took something over in Churchland, but you didn't have the enough for the majority of the kids. I mean, you're talking about over 13,000 children. So I felt that we needed some more. So I ran twice before, and I pressed that trade school, that trade school, that trade school. And then in 2022, I believe, after the election, they approved to get the trade school. So I'm very happy about that. I think it was a long time coming, should have been here, but I'm just happy nevertheless. And that's a little bit about me. I do serve on the Portsmouth Industrial Commission here in Portsmouth as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Moving it from just yourself over to how you view Portsmouth Public Schools. Is there anything that immediately comes to mind as something that you want to fix? It could be better, maybe things you want to highlight that are actually doing really well, all of that.
Absolutely. The first thing I think we need to fix is the reading proficiency. I do understand, as such as other people understand, that if the child cannot read, they can't really be productive in school. And that affects the other grades. So I did my research, and I concentrated on the SOLs, because that's all we have now to measure the growth of the school. And for the past 4 years, we're going to do the COVID was 2020 to 2021. We were at 57%. That's understandable. 2021 to 2022, we were at 61%. And I'm talking about reading, everybody. And 2022, 2023, we was at 60%. 2023, 2024, we were back at 61%. That's alarming to me, because when I looked at the success measures, it said that they would strive basically to have a 10% increase in the SOLs for reading and math. And we haven't reached that. So I do find that concerning, that we haven't reached that. And it's nowhere on the website that shows how we tweaked it. And there's no proof that we tweaked it, because the numbers are still low. So that's something that I would like to work on, see how I can help increase these scores. What needs to happen? What does the superintendent need from us to help increase those reading scores?
All right. Now, I think I read that you also want to help increase teacher retention. And you mentioned morale boosting as well.
Yes.
May I ask if you'd similarly like the idea, perhaps, of teacher collective bargaining, therefore better pay and conditions as well, perhaps? That could be wrapped into their morale boosting and ways to retain them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have no problem with collective bargaining, because I'm not here to be a dictator. And my position coming on is more of management, checking what we've done, looking at what works and what doesn't work, and trying to collaborate with my colleagues to see how we can make everything work better, at least enhance it, if nothing less. So I have no problem with collective bargaining, because I don't believe we can really help you truly if we don't listen to those who are in the trenches. So we don't listen to the teachers and hear what they have to say, and take in consideration their concerns, and maybe put some of that into policy. I don't see a problem with it. I think we can. As far as their pay, I definitely want them to be able to live off of their pay without having to work a second job. I've seen too many teachers, too many educators having to get second and some third jobs. And I would like to see that stopped.
I definitely second that idea. As someone who commutes a lot to work. I would imagine it would be grateful on the part of teachers to be able to stay in their city, work, enjoy work, not have to work too many jobs all at once, because that would help. I think that's the main reason, that you're going to get morale boosting, which will definitely help retain them.
Absolutely.
Now, I think you would also like to help out, as a general concept, of mental health for students and teachers. So educate me if you could. How do we improve on what we have? If you already know of maybe some ideas, policy-wise, we could institute.
Well, I mean, what I would have to do, Conrad, is actually I would go in there and review everything that they have in place. Definitely, because you can't really make any changes or add to stuff that you don't know what's going on. I do know that they do have some things set in place for the mental health for the children, and I believe they were working on something for the teachers as well. So my thing is, to enhance that, we probably could find more facilities and partners with other organizations that can give us maybe a wraparound service, not only the mental health for the students and the teachers, but showing our teachers or how to identify these students, how to get them prepared for any kind of treatment that they may need, and recommending them as well for treatment, just giving them the proper steps. So you're going to have some training for them. Also, how can we help the parents as well? So if we can get wraparound services with these local organizations, I think that'll be good as far as that. But I first would want to see what's already happening, because you don't want to reinvent the wheel. You just want to smooth it out a little bit.
Alrighty. If we could circle back a little bit toward your goal for better literacy rates,
Yes. Okay.
what would you advocate for on the board in order to improve it? Also, is there like a COVID gap that we could see over the past few years, and how can that be fixed?
Yeah, well, you see the COVID gap. You definitely see it. The 20 to 21 scores. You see that it was the lowest. It was 57% for the reading. I looked at the math. I don't have it right in front of me, so I don't want to speak on it. But yeah, you can definitely see the COVID gap. You can see where they went up 21 and 22, and then it was stagnant, 61, 60, 61 last year. So, well, 23, 24. So you can see that, but you would think you would want a little more of an increase. And so what can I do? First of all, I can listen. I can listen to the superintendent, and not only listen to him, maybe I have to ask him what's going on, because I believe that this may have been something that went under the radar as far as being concerned about the scores. And I know that the schools are either accredited or they're accredited with conditions. So I think that we may have just missed the mark on just being concerned about those test scores, because it's important that we pay attention to those scores. And so I understand that what the superintendent's job is, and that is to run the school. But as the board, you're a governing body, so you're going to have to hold people accountable for certain things. And I definitely feel like with our kids reading at such a low level, there should be some kind of concern, some questions, some red flags.
Alrighty. At this moment, I want to take time to bring onto the screen your link for the website.
Okay.
And I believe I have it here. Yep, it's got the campaign platform agenda. And I haven't touched on yet, which I think is number 4 here, where you will be a present link between the community and the Portsmouth Public School Division. So being a present and visible communicative leader for the community, yeah, I think that's important. Could you touch on how you wish to do it?
Absolutely. Basically, making myself available. I get a lot of people that come to me and say, listen, when you get on the board, you're not going to be unapproachable, are you? You're not going to be where we can't touch you and talk to you, basically. And I let everybody know right off the rip, my phone number is available, ready available. That number that everybody sees is connected straight to me. I carry it every day. Now, I may not be able to give you the answer that you're looking for, but as a link, as a conduit, I can direct you to where you need to be. And I will make sure that I do that, whether it be on the website. Maybe they don't know how to find the assessments, and I can direct them to the Virginia website, the education website, so they can find out about the assessments, or what's on the school board website, the local school board website as well, like the parent center and all that. I wouldn't leave anybody hanging, and I get a lot of people complaining because they don't get their questions answered. And I will be the one that, listen, you need to go see this person. You need to go here and contact this person. Even if I had to give them the phone number, I would tell them who to contact. I know I understand the place as a board member, but I would make sure that I don't leave a citizen hanging, because I do understand that that's who I work for. I work for the citizens of Portsmouth.
Literally true. I would agree with that. And as someone who likes to follow as many school board and city council stuff as he reasonably can, transparency and being out there is something that people should weigh. And that's what makes good public servants, or at least my opinion would say that. Saying that you want to do it, that's music to my ears. I do appreciate that. I've gone ahead and put into the chat, both for my Facebook page and the YouTube page, the link to your website itself.
Okay.
So people should be able to click on that at a little later time if they need be. Okay. On to my next question here.
Okay.
Now, while this is not in Portsmouth, Newport News recently had some scary incidents regarding shootings and bus stops. Does Portsmouth School Board need to address something like this as well? And if so, if you are on it, how would you address it?
Well, it's always best to get in front of these type of things. And now we know, of course, we understand that it's definitely possible, and it's so close to have just recently happened. So definitely we need to get in contact with our local law enforcement and see if we can increase the security around our bus stops throughout our neighborhoods during the times that our children are being transported to school. Perhaps making sure that our schools are secured at all times, constantly checking, making sure we have enough resource officers for all the schools. And from what I believe that we have one in each school, but we might need to increase that. And possibly you might have to get some security along with a resource officer. Whatever my colleagues and I decide that's necessary, along with the superintendent, as long as it's to keep our staff and our children safe, there is no way I'm going to go against it.
All right. Respectable. My next question here is going to sort of bridge a few different topics together, but since it's the greater school board is what's being discussed, these are topics that came up at various local and Virginia-wide school boards the past few years. So, do you have any opinion on policy towards gender, sports teams, and alleged controversy regarding materials in schools like libraries?
When I went to school, there were certain things that, regardless of how you lived your life, there were certain things that they just did not have for us to read, and I just feel like sometimes we can reveal too much to children, to our students. I think that we should be mindful of what's in the library. Let me say that. And I say that because every child is not ready for, some of the stuff that's being taught. And I know we would like to think that it's needed and is okay, but every child is not the same. And so I think that we should know what's being offered in our library. When it comes comes to sports, I'm concerned about the health, the safety of our youth when it comes to sports. That's what I'm concerned about. We know that young men are naturally stronger. I have two sons, and I'm the mother, but my sons are grown men, and they're stronger than I am, and I'm concerned about that. That should be a concern, if nothing else.
All right. Now, I want to move now into a further topic regarding safety within schools, specifically students in classrooms, other rooms within the schools, bathrooms. A friend of mine who is in Hampton was able to get a bill very close to being passed, which would have required, if I can look at the link specifically here, each school board to develop and adopt a policy requiring an employee in each public elementary and secondary school, including any school resource officer or other school security officer employed, to check no less frequently than every 30 minutes during normal school hours each restroom facility in each building to ensure the safety of each student. The bill itself did not pass, but it required each school board to make the policy. You want to run for school board, and this is something related to safety, kids within young kids. So what are your initial thoughts on that? Is that something that you would probably want to advocate for in Portsmouth?
Well, I mean, we need to keep the kids safe. The teachers used to check us when I was in school. They used to go and check us. So if we feel, and if the superintendent feel, so let me make sure that we understand how I'm coming. As a board member, I want to make sure that I don't jump the gun. I don't want to overstep the superintendent. So if he comes to us and we have a true concern about those bathrooms, because it could be anything. It could be people visiting the schools that may not check out and slip into the bathrooms. So we want to make sure that we know what's going on and those bathrooms are monitored. So if my colleagues feel that we need to do something like that, I wouldn't be against it, because I'd rather be overly safe than for us to have an issue.
Okay. All right. Let's move a little bit from student safety to student discipline.
Okay.
Where is student discipline in terms of your overall priorities? Is there also parental accountability that's got to factor into this? How do you weigh the two?
Well, of course, it's going to be some parental accountability, but my thing is you're going to have to first communicate with the parent. We got to make sure that we don't wait until it has blown ahead before we start reaching out to the parents. At the initial onset of an issue, we do need to make sure that we're contacting the parents. And I'm not saying that they're not already doing so. So I just want to tell you how I see it. So we want to keep the parent in the loop, okay, of what's going on with the child. And you're asking me, did you say anything about you said discipline? Okay. And so as far as the discipline piece, our kids really need their lesson, and if we can do more of in-house discipline than to put them out on the street where most of them really want to be because they don't want to do their work, I would like to discuss that, how we can maneuver those type of disciplinary actions. I know they have in-school suspension and things like that, but maybe an intermediate before we send them to alternative school. Maybe we can have something else in school in between that to get them out of the classroom until all of the paperwork and everything is done to move them on to an alternative school. Because, after 3 suspensions, they take them, supposedly start initiating them for that alternative school. But from what I'm hearing, that some of the teachers can't really deal with the students. So we still need to do something with them and take them out of the environment of the students that actually are participating and want to learn. So I think we probably need to do something in the meantime, in between time, before they actually be moved to the alternative school. But I want to tell you that I would like to do everything that we can to retain that child in school, to keep that child in school before we put them out on the street. Because to me, their education is so important. And if we can just get that into their heads, I think that we can we'll be a lot better. And I do believe in grassroots partnership, because sometimes kids need to see other individuals that live the same way they lived, that comes from the same place they come from. When I used to go back and talk to the youth in the centers, like in Lincoln Park, there's a Lincoln Park, Swanson Homes and stuff like that. I would go talk to them, and I could relate to them because I used to be them. I used to go to this youth centers and eat lunch and things like that. So I could relate. And I think when they see people that have lived the same life they're living, going through the same things they're going through, they can, you can talk to them better.
I want to move a little bit back to my friend Mr. Seiko here, who I met him back in 2018.
Oh.
When I was running for city council in Virginia Beach. He was running for school board in Virginia Beach. And since that time, we have started a couple projects politically based. And when he hears about the topics of school board candidates, he is concerned about candidates who would like to address the school to prison pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
How do you view it? And as someone who could potentially be on school board, how would you like to dismantle it?
Okay, school to prison pipeline. I view it from almost a firsthand view, because I used to work when I was a deputy in Georgia. I used to work with the kids that were being convicted or tried for the 7 deadly sins. So they were being tried as an adult, and a lot of them could barely read. A lot of them, school just wasn't important to them. And you could tell from their classwork, because they did have to still go to class. I feel like by the 3rd grade, if our kids aren't reading well, it's a possibility that they're headed down the wrong path already. Okay. And that's what I'm very concerned about. How would I handle this? I would really study the curriculum for the 1st and the 2nd graders. And now I looked briefly at them, and I saw that they were teaching them science, and they were teaching them, I believe, a little social studies. They do teach math and English, but I think those 2 grades, 1st and 2nd grade, should primarily concentrate on reading and math. If there's some way we can advocate to get the curricula changed to where we're focusing on reading and math, I mean hardcore focusing on reading and math, to make sure that we don't lose our kids in the 1st and 2nd grade. Because during the 3rd grade, that's when they start their testing, and that's when, if you can't catch up, we done lost a lot of our children. And that's what scares me. So I really want to concentrate on how we can better equip our kids with the fundamentals, the foundation that they need before they start testing. And one of the foundations that they must have, is reading, because everything's going to be difficult without it.
And that is definitely one of the things that you are going to actively work to improve, is to increase those rates, which would knock down the next domino and knock down the next domino, which
Yes.
helps alleviate the school to prison pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing. I do want to thank my friend, Mr. Sergio Neal, for providing this comment on the YouTube feed. Portsmouth had a shooting incident at a bus stop towards the end of the last school year. Now, I admit, Mr. Sergio, I did not hear about that one, but I did hear about the ones that happened in Newport News this week. And of course, I was on my way home from Virginia Beach today. I was reading on wavy.com and stuff about threats that were going around in multiple cities and schools in Hampton Roads. So this is something always to be on the lookout for.
Right.
And perhaps good policy to help weed it out could also be found in our school boards, which is glad that you would like to be mindful of that. And again, I also definitely want to thank Sergio for commenting on the YouTube feed, because I want people to subscribe to this and like the videos and provide as much comments as possible, because growing this forum allows more people to know about stuff that's going on in their local politics. And I'm a good fan of that. And let's see here. I do have a question regarding the concept of school vouchers. Are you a fan of them? Perhaps you have some critiques of them. Maybe you're not a fan of them at all. I would like to hear your opinion on them, though, as you go into the field.
Are we talking about school choice?
School choice, school vouchers, charter
Okay,
schools, private
got
schools,
you.
all of it in the big mix. How would you
For
like to address it?
for me, it's not a hard. It's not a no. But I really would like to weigh the pros and cons of it. For one, how do we determine who gets them? You know how, because you have people that want, school voucher, school choice, and then so how do we determine who will qualify to get it? And then when, say, if it's not benefiting the child, because the reason why we would do it is because it would benefit the child would go somewhere else, receive basically a better understanding of the education that they need to know. But what happens when we do a school voucher and the child is not progressing? And so we call them back and we deny. So now we have a whole new problem. And so in order for us to do that, we have to make sure that the procedure is in order. So like I say, it's not a no, but I don't even want to start it until we know from A to Z how we're going to handle everything, that way we can explain it to the parents. Because if we say, listen, your child is not meeting the standards for us to continue this, we don't need anybody getting upset with us because we already had it in writing. Everything was understood in the beginning. So we would definitely have to come together and get a decent plan and policy for that. So like I say, it's not a no, I do understand.
All right. So I'm glad to hear that at least you approach it with an open mind.
Absolutely.
Are there any concerns you might have? Perhaps knowing that there's a healthy amount of kids who are able to get it, that means that the money that goes in those vouchers is taken out of what
Mhm,
otherwise would have been the general funding for the school board as a whole, in order
mhm,
to do that, to go to infrastructure, teachers, and buildings that aren't run by public schools in
mhm.
Portsmouth. Does that create a drag on the other product in order to do that? Or is that a fear not to worry too much about, because it's still teaching at least those students who
Well,
have the vouchers?
we can't give it to we wouldn't be able to give it to every child, and so there would have to be a maximum allowance for it, and that's why you have to make sure that your qualifications are specified, you know. So I'm only one vote, what I'm saying? My colleagues might not agree with it, but I just want people to know that I don't knock it. I truly understand. We all want the best education for our kids. And I'm asking, that you give us a chance and maybe put some new people up there. Of course, I want to be on the board, but maybe you want to choose some more new people so we can put our minds together and help bring Portsmouth to a standard where you don't think that you need to change the school. You don't need to remove your kid. We want to be a top tier school. And
Mhm.
that's what I want to help make Portsmouth. But like I said, I do not put it down as far as, school vouchers. I just want a chance to help bring Portsmouth up to a standard where we all can be proud of our school and we can go talk. And see, I'm a real estate agent too, so I do understand. That's the first question. You know, how are the
Everyone
schools?
who is prospective buyer in a new city, the first thing they ask, even ahead of flooding, is how
Hmm.
good are the schools? So,
Absolutely. And I'm a veteran, so I understand being stationed somewhere and you have no choice of where your kid go to school.
mhm.
So I want to make sure that I pour into Portsmouth like Portsmouth was poured in when I was in school, and we can get improvement in our school system.
All right. Now, to play a little bit more into my own experiences,
Hmm.
um, yes, I live here in the West Haven community of Portsmouth.
Okay.
But what I do is wake up at about 4:30, leave the house at 5, um, closer to 5:30, in order to drive to Virginia Beach to go to the various elementary schools they send me to in the morning for the out of school time program because I'm a parks employee.
Okay.
So this is childcare. Before the kids start their school day, they sometimes 30 or so kids could show up before the first bell, and we run the games for them. We do crafts and stuff. And then at the end of the day, same thing, after school care. Is that a big program that you would like to strengthen here in Portsmouth as well, to make sure that there's a strong relationship between parks in Portsmouth and school in Portsmouth?
Absolutely. Whatever we can do to assist the parents. We understand that a lot of parents have more than one child in the school system. So whatever they need to assist as assistance, I think we should be willing to do so. And that will be something I would love to look into and strengthen for our community. Absolutely. Don't want to take that away. Everybody needs help.
Indeed. Which is why I would like to at least shout out Councilman Barnes, who did create that program, or at least help fund that program, of a lot of students who were able to get a lot of parks benefits over the summer programs and stuff. Those are ideas that could be spread out to many different parts of the city. So yeah, it could be used on school as well. I also want to highlight that the past few forums I went to in Virginia Beach, and those candidates, they're largely talking about school modernization.
Absolutely.
They're fighting over replacing with newer infrastructure up to, not all at once, of course, because there's 86 schools in Virginia Beach right now, and there's 5 to 10 that they know that they really are just so old, so out of date, that they have to invest money to make new, like Princess Anne High School and stuff. As someone who would be on the board, how would you like Portsmouth to address their ideas on school modernization? Do you already know of some ones that really need school modernization?
I go by some of the schools just to ride by, and I see some that look like they really could use some improvement. But I time out for those up and down structures. I think our schools need to start looking like the future. And when I say that, I mean, we need campuses. We need to, when we start modernizing our schools, and hopefully we can get that middle school that's so needed. We need to build a campus. Our school needs to look like their next step, their college step, or their job professionalism. We need to put them in an atmosphere that they're going to on the next level. And that's what I'm looking for when you're talking about modernization, making sure that we have the technology that's needed and they're learning how to use the technology that's going to be needed. Because I don't care how much we want to stay in the past, the future is going to continue to come, and it's going to move on with all this technology that many of us are not going to be able to understand. But I want to make sure that our kids are ready for the 21st century when they graduate.
Excellent. Now, today is September 18th. If I recall, we're only about 2 days away from early voting starting. Break down your view of the race so far, at least in the school board sense, because I know when I go to the polls, I have about 3 to choose from on city council in Portsmouth because it's all that large. Is it more than 3, less than 3? Is it whatever it is for school board? Because I'm entering this wanting to know as much as I can. So what more could you tell me?
For Portsmouth, you have 5 seats available, and you have 7 candidates.
7 candidates. 5 seats. It's interesting to see 5 school board seats and 3 city council seats. That's pretty cool. But like I said, it's an at-large system. So of those 7 candidates, they're fighting for the top 5 positions, just like the city council folks are fighting to finish in the top 3.
Right.
You only get the 1 mayor. Want to say a little bit of what your experience so far in running for office? Is it as good as you thought it would be? Is it more fun, more challenging than you thought to this far?
It's very It keeps you busy. You stay busy because especially when you have limited funds, a lot of people are not donating like they used to, especially to school board candidates, and that's what kind of scares me because not the donation so much. It's normally people don't understand the importance of choosing your school board candidates. You know, after correctly, should I say? You need to research the school board candidates as well. We don't need people up there holding seats. We don't need people up there quiet and you know, getting a stipend. And you know, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but I'm just saying we need people that are going to ask the hard questions. We need people that are going to answer the hard questions. And you know, when we're asked questions on the street, we need to bring it back to our colleagues and discuss it because these are the people that hired us. And so their concerns need to be heard. We don't need to get elected for 4 years and start ignoring folks because I'm in the seat now. And you won't get that from me. And I think that when we're choosing who we want to take these 5 seats on the school board, we need to recollect on what has happened in the past. Were you able to contact your board member? Did you see them actually working for you and your child or the staff? And these are the questions that you should ask. You know, the person the new people that are running, have they shown you any proven service? All I do is work in the community. Anybody that really knows me know that. And if you look at my Facebook page, you can see between the veterans and the children, I'm always doing something. And I have been for years. You know, I had kids in my house that had rocky homes. So I let them stay so they can graduate. You know, I wasn't a foster parent. I was just a parent and a citizen that knew that in order for a child to do well in school, they needed to be able to eat. They didn't need to come home and worry about whether they're going to have lights on in their house. So I gave them a stable environment so that they can complete, you know, the school, the high school. And I did that for about maybe 4 kids actually to get them through. And then I did it, you know, just had some kids where their parents were struggling. So I just gave them a safe environment so they can go to school. This is the type of boots on the ground type individuals that we need. People that actually have proven that they care about Portsmouth and we care about the youth.
Excellent. I've gone ahead and taken one of my other links I have up here and put it here in the chat for viewers to watch. And that is, let me see if I can get this present on the screen here. The candidate profile from Wavy. If I have it up here, I want individuals who are watching this or will watch it later to see this link, go to this link, read a little bit more about this candidate and others, and make the great decision as voters should going into what, again, will start on Friday, the early voting time. And what I would like to do is, let me get this. Yep, that is situated here. I want to give you the floor for your ultimate elevator pitch for why you should be voted in to the Portsmouth School Board.
Okay. All right. Listen, Portsmouth, it's time for a change. We have been sitting in the same spot for a while. Now, I know a lot of people always say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But I think there's something broken when our children are not in a position where they can do well on their testings or do well in life. If they can't read, they're going to struggle. And I'm tired of our kids struggling. Even at the college, that when they go to first college, I've got some reports that our kids go there struggling to read as well. It's not difficult. It's just strategy. We got to strategize on how to get them to a level where they can accomplish more. And you can't accomplish much if you can't read. You can't put a kid in the classroom and embarrass them if because they're not understanding, because it could ultimately mean that they cannot read. And that's the big thing for me. When I started kindergarten, my mother was instrumental in helping me read. So I understand how difficult it can be when a teacher have 14 or more kids, because we have a 1 to 14 ratio. And so it's hard to reach everybody. And I understand you may have, the assistant in there as well. But I do understand, because my mother had to help me. And I understand that the parent may not be able to help the kids at home. So we want to incorporate something, like I said, a wraparound facility where we can get help for not only the kid, we can get help for the parent as well, whatever it be. Maybe they need to have some reading courses as well, and we can dignify that for them. Okay, not make them feel bad, but we welcome them so they can help their children. I am looking for every aspect to enhance Portsmouth Public School. I would never put anything that has been done before me down. I thank the people for their efforts, but I think it's time for a change. I think it's time for an increase, and I think that I am the person that can do it. I know that I am, and I promise you I will be transparent with you. I will direct you to the place that you need to go or need to be. I will answer your questions to the best of my ability, because there are some things that I cannot discuss. And I promise you, I will never ask for a raise for me as a board member. Never. And if I do not do what I tell you that I'm going to do, I will not even ask for your vote again for another 4 years. I can assure you that everything I say I'm going to do, and that is work hard for the students and the staff of Portsmouth Public Schools, it shall be done. Thank you so much, Conrad.
That is straight from the mind of Miss Arnette D. Love McSwain, bringing the love to Portsmouth schools, perhaps as early as this upcoming late December is when they would swear you in, or is that early January?
I think it's January.
All right. Well, again, I want to thank you for coming on and just talking as much about how much you care about running for Portsmouth School Boards and making sure that we improve the education in the city of Portsmouth. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
On the show, and I'll catch you next time. And all the folks who are watching tonight and will watch soon, of course, I do want to thank you guys for doing that. This is, of course, SchezzWho, which is the top spot in Hampton Roads for local politics. So, like this episode, subscribe to this channel, come back for the next one, because then you'll be able to get all the more information that you need to be the next